All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to Minnesota Sports HQ. The Gophers just finished up their game against the Iowa Hawkeyes, and yeah, Iowa won pretty handedly. The final score was 48-31. Um, the Gophers had a chance late to push back and get it close, but ultimately the Floyd of Rosedale goes to the Iowa Hawkeyes. They've won it for the last 4 years. Um, but you know, Gophers just started off absolutely awful. Iowa scored on their first two possessions, and after our first two possessions, we lost 5 yards combined. And after that, I mean, we played pretty much even with Iowa, but that early deficit, we just couldn't come back from it. Little look at the stats. Zach Annexstad was 17 for 33 for 218 yards, threw for 3 touchdowns, but also had 3 interceptions. Mainly late when we were trying to come back, and 4 interceptions total is just awful. Really, you're not gonna have any chance when you throw 4 interceptions in a game. Nate Stanley for Iowa threw for 314 yards with 4 touchdowns and only threw 1 interception, which should never have happened. Don't know what he was doing, but Minnesota's run defense did look really good. They only allowed 106 rushing yards on 40 receptions, which is much different compared to the 315 we allowed 2 weeks ago against Maryland. So it is over 100 yards, but at the same time, they only average 2.7 yards a carry, which isn't great, especially when their passing was so open. Um, and the Gophers had 86 yards of rushing. We didn't hand the ball off to Mike Bryce Williams very often, and also those numbers are also affected by Zach Annexstad's minus 31 yards because he got sacked so many times. 5 to be specific. So, we did have more rushing yards than that, but minus 31 from sacks is pretty bad. As far as receiving, Tyler Johnson did well with 6 receptions for 107 and a touchdown. Rashad Bateman had 7 receptions for 65 yards and 2 touchdowns. I thought he played really well. Bateman made some nice catches. I'll put those here. And then on another note, I just want to wish Chris Ottman-Bell some recovery after the late hit he took by number 52 of the Hawkeyes. I'll put that clip here. And then, of course, as soon as the Gophers got back into it, 14-7, the Hawkeyes had a big kick return, and then when we got back into it again in the second half, Iowa had another big kickoff return, and couldn't get a break. But I mean, after the first two drives, it was basically an even matchup. But the Gophers fall to 3-2 overall, which isn't great. But for starting a freshman quarterback, I mean, it's not the worst. Annexstad hasn't looked the worst. Obviously, he's not great, but we're gonna have a fun test next week against Ohio State. That's all I can say. But Ohio State is ranked number 3 currently. I believe they've beaten Indiana at this point. Let me just check here real quick. Sorry, guys, my computer is a little slow. Yeah, the Ohio State Buckeyes are probably going to win, but as good as they are, I don't really rate Dwayne Haskins very much. He hasn't been great, and somehow people are mentioning for the Heisman. Okay, sure, we'll go for it. He's not actually that great, but Gophers are 3-2 now. I'll put some other highlights here if there are any. And yeah, I'll be back with the Vikings review tomorrow. Skol, let's beat the Eagles. I hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend, and yeah, I'll see you next time.